Welcome in, I'm Artress, and in this video we're going to be going over Black Yellow Gecko Moria, a new 4-life leader from OP14 that reads Activate main once per turn. You may KO one of your Thriller Bark Pirate type characters. Your leader and all of your characters gain 1,000 power during this turn, and then when attacking, you may trash 3 cards from your hand, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards. Now when this leader was first announced, I think a lot of people were skeptical of both of these abilities because of the fact that standalone, they're really bad, but of course with the overall deck composition and how this leader plays, it actually has great synergy with what you're trying to do. But before we go over the deck list and how this leader operates, if you're new to the channel, please make sure to hit that sub button and also give the video a thumbs up if you enjoy it. It helps out the channel so much. Thank you all for the support. Additionally, if you'd like to talk about the One Piece card game outside of the YouTube comments, make sure to join the Discord community. The link for that is in the description below. So for the first part of this ability, when you're KOing a character, what's really nice about a lot of the characters that came out in OP14 for the support for Moria is that they have on KO effects. So you can actually proc those without having the opponent attack into those characters. So as a result, that first part of the ability is pretty decent. And of course, when you're doing that, you're getting the KO ability plus also buffing your entire board, including your leader, by 1,000 power. So you're at base minimum swinging for 6,000 for a lot of these swings. The second part of the ability, when you're trashing cards from hand to be able to heal, there's quite a few triggers in this deck that bring cards out of the trash, so you are potentially putting cards into the trash that you can bring right back out if there's a trigger that you put onto the top of your life. So as I mentioned, there's some great synergy as you can see. So let's go over the deck list and talk about what we have here. Starting off, we have a playset of Victory Sindri. This is a 1-cost, 2,000 power, 2k counter that says on play, if your leader has the Thriller Bark Pirates type, trash 5 cards from the top of your deck. This is a great opening play, and it also acts as a bit of a searcher because you're putting 5 cards into your deck, which you'll likely be able to at least bring one of those out based off of your trigger effects. We're running a lot of triggers, so the chances of hitting one is very high. Then I'm running a playset of Hogback from OP06. This is an on-play, return 2 cards from your trash to the bottom of your deck in any order, and then put 1 Thriller Bark card other than Hogback from your trash to your hand. We have lots of options for this. This is one of the few cards that doesn't have a trigger on it, but it is a very strong card to be able to get 2Ks back when you need them, or to be able to get some of your taller characters out as well. Then I'm running 2 Perona 2K counters on play. If your opponent has 5 or more cards in their hand, choose one of the following. Your opponent discards 1 from their hand, or give up to one of your opponent's characters -3 cost for the turn. The -3 cost, not really relevant. We're not really using minus cost reductions with KO abilities here. What's more relevant is just being able to disrupt your hand and cause them to discard 1. I don't really find this card super useful. I do think it's a good card to have, and you can consider it at 4 of, but here I want to run it at 2 because I want to maximize the amount of triggers we have in the deck. Next up, I'm running 4 of the 6-cost, 7,000 power Gecko Moria from PRBO2. It says on play, if your leader has the Thriller Bark Pirates type, play up to 1 character with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested, then give up to 1 rested Dawn card to your leader. So this is a great way to get that tempo back where you can get 2 bodies out. One of them will be tempting for your opponent to swing into, likely going to have an on KO effect, and then the other thing here is you're putting a Dawn underneath your leader, so you are at least able to swing for 6 without having to KO anything on the field. On to some new cards. We have the 2K counter Kumasi. We're running 4 of these. It's a 1-cost, 2,000 power character. This is just a great 2K counter that has a trigger that says play up to 1 Thriller Bark Pirates type character with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested. A lot of your triggers in this deck have that ability where the trigger says play a Thriller Bark Pirate type character with a cost of 4 or less rested. So this is, of course, we're going to see this in a lot of yellow packaging where we have a Thriller Bark Pirates package. This can be played in pretty much any yellow deck, and I think we've seen it in some of like yellow Luffy. Of course, this is going to be the best in Moria. Then we have a playset of Absalom, a 3-cost, 5,000 power character that says on KO, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Thriller Bark Pirates type card and add it to your hand, then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order, and the trigger is yet again play a Thriller Bark Pirate type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested. So this can be really annoying, as you see, if you have triggers that bring bodies out of the trash and your opponent's trying to clear the board, it makes it really difficult for them and it really slows down the process, and as a result you can really stall out games. Then we have a playset of the 4-cost, 5,000 power Dr. Hogback. It's an on KO, play up to 1 character card with a cost of 4 or less and a trigger other than Dr. Hogback from your trash. And then, of course, the trigger, once again, is play up to 1 Thriller Bark Pirates type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested. So yet again, another piece to be able to add to the nuisance of your opponents trying to get through. I think this one's really good because of the fact that it actually brings out another body when it is KO'd. So if this is a body you bring out through a trigger and then your opponent swings into this, then you can bring out another body on top of that. As you can see, we can start stacking bodies. And of course, the more bodies we're able to bring out, the more annoying we are to the opponent. And then next up, we have a 4-cost Perona. We have a playset of this. This is probably the best Thriller Bark Pirate card in the 4-cost or lower spot. This is an on-play and on-KO up to one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less cannot attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. And then the trigger is play up to one Thriller Bark Pirates type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested. This is a great target for a lot of the triggers. When this card comes out, it can stop an attack your opponent might not be expecting to be stopped with. And so as a result, the Perona is a card I'm going to try to fill up my trash with as soon as possible, or just play it outright and then use the leader ability to KO it and put it into trash and get that ability off on the on play and then also on the on KO. So in a turn, you can actually use this ability twice because as I just mentioned, the on play and then on KO can happen in the same turn. This is a great way if you want to do something with like an 8-cost Moria or like a 6-cost Moria to bring it out twice, you totally can. Then I'm playing a playset of the Silver's Rayleigh from OP14. This is not a Thriller Bark Pirates card, but it's a great trigger and a great KO piece. This is a 6-cost, 6,000 power character that says on play, if your leader is multicolored and your opponent has 3 or less life cards, KO up to one of your opponent's characters with 7,000 base power or less. So once again, just a great trigger overall. Think of it as kind of like a better 5-cost Nami. You don't have to pitch a card from hand, and it isn't cost reliant. It's more of a power reliance. And so there's a lot of 7,000 power characters that you can hit with this. Now onto the boss monsters of the deck. We're running an 8-cost, 10,000 power Gecko Moria that says on play, play up to one Thriller Bark Pirates type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash, or add it to the top of your life cards face up. So you have some flexibility there with what you would like to do. If you want to fill your board up, you totally can. If you want to play around a trigger and prolong the game and stay alive a little bit easier, you totally can with this as well. The trigger is pretty nice because it says play up to one character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash. It doesn't have to be Thriller Bark Pirates, so this is kind of flexible in other packages as well, as you can see, and it doesn't have to come in rested either. So this one can come in standing upright, so you don't have to worry about a body coming in from this trigger and getting immediately decimated. So that's really nice for this Moria. We're running 4 of them, of course, really nice to see. And then I mentioned it's grabbable with the hogback, so if you do happen to mill this out, you can grab it if you have a hogback in hand. Next up, we have a playset of Big Mom Jr., the 9-cost, 10,000 power Boa Hancock. On play, if your leader has the 7 Warlords of the Sea type, add up to 1 card from the top of your deck to the top of your life cards, then add up to 1 card from the top of your opponent's life cards to their hand. The trigger, play up to 1 character card with 6,000 power or less and a trigger from your hand. So all of these are very relevant in Moria because the fact that Moria is a 7 Warlords type leader, and then obviously the trigger being able to bring out pretty much anything in your hand at that point is very nice. A really interesting play also that you might not consider is the 6-cost Rayleigh can be brought out with this Boa Hancock, and if your opponent is at 3 life or less, the on play does take effect. So this is a really interesting way to KO an opponent's character, plus also establish a board on the opponent's turn. Then we have a playset of the Hurry Up and Make Me the Pirate King. It's a 1-cost event that says main, look at the top 3 cards of your deck, reveal up to 1 Thriller Bark Pirates type card other than this one and add it to your hand, and then trash the rest. The trigger is activate this card's main effect, so you can get it either way. Very nice to be able to fill up the trash, plus also get something in your hand for your curve. And then finally, we're running a playset of Brickbat, a 1-cost counter event that says up to one of your Thriller Bark Pirate type leader or character cards gains 3,000 power during this battle. And then the triggers play up to 1 Thriller Bark Pirates type character card with a cost of 4 or less from your trash rested. So yet again, another trigger to bring out another body. So as you can see, this can be a very annoying deck that swarms the board very quickly. Your opponent might not respect it, and as a result, this deck actually has a lot of firepower. In my tier list, I didn't rank this leader very highly, not because I don't believe in it, but I think because I don't believe in other people to pilot it. It is a rather difficult deck to manage when you should trash cards, when you should KO things, what you should be KOing, and how you should be looping things. As a result, I do think this deck has a lot of potential, and as we've seen in some of the sim results, it's a pretty solid deck overall. I think it's usually pretty consistent in the top 5 of the best scoring or highest win percentage decks. But that being said, I don't know if we've yet to see any regionals or treasure cups with this quite yet. I don't think there has been any. So I'm excited to see how this does in a larger tournament setting. But it is a solid deck overall. I think it's a good rogue deck. Once again, I mentioned that it's a deck that if you have the right pilot for it, I definitely think that this deck has the potential to go very far in a big tournament. But with all that in mind, let's take this list into the sim and see how it does. All right, into Crocodile. I think this is going to be a very fair matchup. We'll be able to test out the strength of the deck. I think our hand is pretty solid. We are going second, so we do have a decent curve here. We have Sindri. They go ahead and they use... What was it, an event? Disappointed? Okay, so they were able to grab a Missile Sunday, trashing a 2K counter and another Missile Sunday in the process. Here we have not a lot of great options. We have another Hogback in the trash, which we wanted anything else besides that because of the fact that a Hogback when KO'd cannot bring a Hogback out. So these 4-cost Hogbacks aren't at least going to be able to bring anything out in the meantime. And if they decide to swing into life, at least we have a target, which if we do have a trigger, we run a lot of triggers in this deck, there's a chance that this thing could be brought out. Yes, okay, there we go. We have a trigger with the brick bat. We'll bring out the hogback. Unfortunate we don't have more options, of course, but maybe we can draw into another 4-cost character, or maybe an Absalom as well. That would be nice. Either of those I'm pretty happy with, and then we can start using our leader ability to trash them and put them into the trash, of course, and then start pumping up everything in the meantime. So let's see what we get into this draw, but at very worst, we'll play out the Dr. Hogback. Why do we have all 4 hogbacks in our opening draws? Okay, so we're getting trolled a little bit by Sim here. I think what we'll do is we'll just keep the Sindri until we have a wider board to then poke for 6s, or at least a little bit harder. Here we'll just play out the hogback. We could have used our ability to fill up the trash a little bit more, but I think it's okay to just, play these outright and then force the opponent to swing into them and get them off the field. And worst case scenario, we can always just KO and then bring back out. So we have options, of course. But this next turn, I mean, here they're on 5. They're playing the Miss Valentine, so Miss Valentine's probably going to be grabbing a Bond Clay if they don't already have one. Bond Clay on this turn would be able to be KO'd and then likely play out... Well, they trashed a Bond Clay, so that means they probably already have one in hand. I was going to say Dawes Bones is a pretty prime target for them to be able to rest one of the hogbacks, or the hogback that's standing upright, and have another target to swing into. Or swing with. So yeah, a 5-cost 6,000 power character is nothing to really scoff at there. We'll give them a 1k counter to protect at least one of these hogbacks. We want to keep it alive. We're not able to really bring anything out of the trash, unfortunately, so one of these hogbacks is going to be going down, of course. All right, so they're going to use the ability, as I mentioned, play out the Bond Clay, KO the Bond Clay, -4. They do have the option to bring out the Mr. 5 Gem, which is a solid blocker as well, but most of the times you're going to try to force a card out of my hand with an additional swing. So the Dawes Bones is a pretty good option here, and of course it will just get the hogback off the field, and I don't have a target to bring back out, so that's rather unfortunate here. And our hand is a little bit bricked up, but I think we're going to be okay. So considering the Sindri KO, but I think we just ignore it, and we just poke for 5, and then we play out the 6-cost Gecko Moria. Putting a Dawn underneath our leader, we have the option to swing into the Dawes Bones, but I think it's probably more efficient to swing into the leader just to get an additional card, like a 2k counter out of hand, or maybe get a better read as to what they have in hand. If they give us 2 1s, that's really good as well. But I would imagine they already have a 2k, which they do. So getting that 2k out of hand is pretty nice overall. This turn, they do have a Miss All Sunday, so they could go Miss All Sunday on 7, play out a Bond Clay, which we already know is in trash, and then maybe a Searcher. They do have a Searcher. They could also play Miss Wednesday out, so they have a couple of options here. We'll take the 5 and see if we can get a trigger. Nice to get that search. I think we grab the 8-cost Moria, just so we have an additional Thriller Bark Pirate into the trash with the Absalom. So we have something at least on the hogback KO to bring out, which is pretty nice. And then I would imagine that with the Miss All Sunday, they could... I don't know if they have another Dawes Bones is the problem, so they don't have a way to rest the Gecko Moria unless it's from hand. I didn't see it in trash, so they could always just play out the Mr. 5 Gem, which is the other 5-cost character, and maybe swing into the hogback. But of course, if I were them, they might not want to swing into the hogback, because it's a wasted effort, to be quite honest. They know I have a card in trash. If I didn't have the Absalom from that trigger, I would be more inclined as the Crocodile player. As I thought, they'd bring out the Mr. 5 Gem in the scenario. Because I didn't think they had a... I mean, I didn't see another Dawes Bones in the trash. Doesn't mean they don't have one in hand. You can bring it out with the hand. But here, with the Miss Wednesday, they can't really use it on anything. They could use it on the Moria, but it's not a blocker, so they can't really swing into it. Doesn't really matter. And like I said, they're probably not wanting to swing into the hogback because of the fact that hogback is just going to replace itself with another character. So it's kind of a waste of a swing in that regard. So yeah, they just use it anyway, which, I mean, maybe that's a little bit of a play mistake. I would probably just keep it on the field and keep it a little bit more threatening. They decide to swing into the hogback. Well, it doesn't matter because I have no counter in hand anyway. We'll bring out the Absalom. I think that's probably a small play mistake on their part where maybe they should have swung face, put me down to 1, but maybe they also didn't want to have as wide a board with a potential trigger coming out with this with our life. Okay, so this turn, I think what we can do is we're just going to go ahead and trash the Sindri. We're going to try to take back the board a little bit. We'll go 6 as much as possible and just ask for cards out of hand and immediately get the card taken out, which is really nice. So we'll go ahead and start swinging 6s into face. Here, I don't want to use my ability quite yet. I don't think we need to. And then we'll go 8 into face here. And I imagine this one's going to be... I was going to say, I don't think it's going to be blocked. I think it'll be taken. They're down to 1 life, which is pretty scary for them. I think we need to at least protect the board, go as wide as possible. The 8-cost Moria is nice, but I want to leave 1 open for Brickbat, because otherwise, if they decide to push for game, I actually might just lose. So we need to at least make sure we don't lose the game outright, and we'll see what they do in the meantime here. I would, based off of their last swing, imagine that they're probably going to start swinging into the board here. Probably getting rid of the hogbacks first is my guess. They're probably thinking about what they need to do. This is an 8-cost Crocodile play more times than not. Being able to freeze my 2 6-cost Morias is going to be really good for them because of the fact that they're down to 1 life. They're probably feeling a little bit of pressure, of course. So, oh, they go 5 to face. Okay, let's give them a 1k counter because if we do have a trigger, it's kind of a waste because of the fact we have a full board already. If they swing 8 with the Miss All Sunday, there's consideration to play over a character if we need to. It is a Perona. I don't know if we need to use the trigger, so I think we just hold on to it because it's a counter in hand at least. We don't need to really bring out another hogback. That's all we really have as an option anyway. So this next turn, we have a couple things we could do. We could play out the 9-cost Hancock, heal up 1, trash their life, or not trash, it goes to hand. And then we can use our ability to heal up. We're one of the few leaders that can actually heal twice in a turn. So that's very nice, of course. The 6-cost Moria, as I thought, was going to be unable to attack, which is fine. This is a prime target for us to use our leader ability. Because we're not able to attack with it, we can just then use our KO ability to then pump up our field for the rest of the attacks. So I think that's fine. And it also allows us to play the Hancock without having to play over something. So I think the efficient turn is at least one of these Morias is going to go down. Or KO'd by our own ability, rather. Oh, wow. And then they also have the Patchwork to freeze the Absalom. So, okay, we are only able to swing with 2 things. Maybe it's worth just popping the Absalom at that point and getting a card draw, getting a 2k in the process, keeping our 6-cost Morias up. We'll heal with the Hancock, take their last life, and then I think we just go ahead and get rid of 3 cards here. One of them being a good trigger with a Perona, potentially stopping an attack, healing back up, going up to 3 here. And we'll go 6, 6, and then 1 more 6. Leave 1 open for Brickbat, and then have a 2k and a 1k, kind of answering or forcing them to have an answer. And if they want to swing into the hogbacks, it's kind of a waste once again. We're just going to be able to replace the board. It's going to be very difficult for them to close the game out based off of the current board state. So I think we're in a pretty good spot here. The only misplay that I think that they had was getting rid of the Miss Wednesday. I don't really think that was a misplay per se. Maybe keeping it on the field could have been fine. But overall, I think they played to the best of what they had. I'm not saying that the game's closed out quite yet, but it's feeling pretty close to being finished here. I think we probably have 1 more turn unless they just don't have counter right now miraculously, but I think... Oh, okay. Wow, they were bricked up and they were going to be playing really good for late, but they had nothing to protect themselves with. Insane. Wow. On to Purple Doffy. We're going to go second here. This hand's fine. We have a Sindri to open up with. We have a couple of 4-cost characters, and we have a 6 into an 8. So once again, we're seeing a pretty solid curve. We'll play out the Sindri. We got an Absalom and a hogback in the trash. At least the Absalom can be brought out if we do find a trigger for this first life. Let's go ahead and see what our luck is like. We are able to bring out the Absalom, and we can also bring out the hogback as well, but I think the Absalom's better here just to be able to have a target. The Dellinger is going to be able to swing into the Absalom, and I think I'm just going to protect it with the hogback. Here, I want to swing the Sindri into the Dellinger, but I also don't want to give him a free ramp. I don't know if... I think I just want to force them to use their leader ability to redirect the target so that they're not getting the free Dawn. Because the Dellinger says it can ramp up if it's on KO, but if they're minusing Dawn to redirect, then they aren't really gaining Dawn. They're just staying Dawn neutral, so I think that's fine. We'll go 5 into lead. They take, and then we'll play out this hogback. We'll put the Brickbats to the bottom of the deck, and I think we just grab the 3-cost Absalom. We can also grab the 1-cost event as well, but we don't really need to per se. And then here, they could just swing into the Absalom. We could get a search off. We have a couple of options where we could also next turn. I think we protect this one. This next turn, because we protected it, we can actually play out the Moria, the 6-cost Moria, and the Perona. The Sugar is very interesting to see. They're leaving 2 open, meaning they could potentially have a slow beam. We'll at least swing with 1 character. They're immediately like snap redirecting. We're going to swing 6 again. I'm just going to play out the 6-cost Moria, and I'm going to freeze this Monet from attacking and swing 7 into lead. I don't really need to pitch my hand right now, and we are bricked up, so insane to see. One of the downsides of this deck is that you do run a fair amount of bricks. At least the list that I have, you know, we're bricked up a lot. 8 cost Doffy into Virgo is probably their best target. Rosinante is a pretty good target as well. Rosie's scary because of the fact that it always presents slow beam as an option. I think we just let that go because we have no other option to protect it with. Here, we'll just go ahead and swing the Perona into lead. Now, this is a pretty good option for them to be able to use slow beam if they have it, because that's a free getting out of 2 hits, which, you know, might be a bad swing from my part, but they didn't use it, so I think we're fine. We'll go ahead and KO it. We'll swing, I think just to be safe here, let's swing 7, and we'll forego playing the 8 cost just yet. We also have the option of playing the Rayleigh, but I think the better play here is the 6 cost Moria, bringing the Perona back out and then freezing the Monet, and then also getting a search off with our 1 cost event. But we're going to swing characters first just in case they have a slow beam across the way. We're trying to bait out them to force the redirect. Redirect probably goes into the 8 cost. It goes into the Monet, so that actually changes things slightly. I think this is an interesting option here. Let's see. Let's play the 1 cost event first and see what we can get. I think what we do is we just grab Perona. It's the only option we can play. And then what we can do is bring out pretty much anything here. This Hogback's probably the best target because of the fact it replaces itself. We don't need to heal quite yet. We're not in any scary position. And they give us a 0 cost event, and our board is very wide. So very nice here. And then, of course, we can follow up this play with, depending on what they have, we can follow it up with the 8 cost Moria. But if we need to answer the board, we can with the Rayleigh, just in case they don't play a Virgo. There is that option to be able to play out the Rayleigh. But I think we're looking pretty good here. I don't know if we're going to be able to protect the 6 cost Moria. And because they used the event to be able to search, it means they're not playing out the 10 cost Doffy this turn. 10 cost Doffy would have really just blown my board apart. So they did grab it off of that, but they can't play it this turn. So at least next turn, it will come down. So we need to pressure them as much as possible this turn so that we get the most value out of the bodies on the board. They're going huge into the Moria. They could have just swung 9 into it and I would have let it go, but they don't know that. So we'll let them waste that Dawn. That's good for me. And then here, they probably are just going to go like maybe a 5, possibly a 7. Anywhere from 5 to 7. Okay, so with the Dellinger, it could be a 5 cost character coming out. So they're just going to go 5 into one of these characters on the field. I think we just protect it. I think it's fine to protect it. We'll go ahead and pitch the Perona, and then what we can do after this is play the 8 cost, bring out the Perona, then KO the Perona, and then freeze both of the Rosies. I think that's probably a good option here. We'll freeze both of them, and then what we can do at this point is swing 7 into lead. I think we just swing 7 with the characters we have so that it's not an easy slow beam counter out of. They have to give us a slow beam plus also a 1k counter. So we want to see that, of course. And then they're probably going to, I would imagine, instantly use their leader ability to redirect into the Dellinger just to see what they can get. But looks like they're going to go ahead and just counter out of this first one. Maybe they take the next one, and then maybe they want, I don't know, maybe they want to redirect the 6 cost Moria into the Dellinger. One of these two is going to be redirected regardless. Okay, they take that one. We'll see if they redirect. I would imagine they do here. And then probably not going to take the 6. They'll probably counter out with a 2k here. But the reason we're swinging this way is because of the fact that Doffy has the ability to, you know, play slow beam. That's something I always have to consider against this deck. So you have to make awkward swings. It's kind of like Green Bonnie, where you want to swing suboptimally against them because of the fact that they can just rest something pretty easily. This one's also in the same regard where you have to swing inoptimally. So what do they get off the Dellinger? I'm not sure if it really matters because next turn the 10 cost is coming down no matter what. They play a baby 5 2k counter. They're going to use this to just counter out with. And then this next turn, 10 cost is probably going to come down and freeze the 3 rested units, cause them to not attack. And then they can redirect the 8 cost and then take 1 if they need to. So I think we're in a pretty good spot here. They're not really in any way, shape, or form able to close out the game in the next turn or two. We're trying to close the game out this next turn if we're able to. I don't think we're able to. I think we're at least able to put them down to 0 and then force them to either lose a body in the process or lose some more cards out of hand. 9 into 7 here. This is an interesting attack. I think I just let it go. And if I let it go, they could play the 10 cost to KO the 8. That is also another option. I don't hate that from them. I think that's pretty solid. But it does leave 2 bodies up to be able to swing with, which can be pretty annoying. Yep, they do KO it. Interesting to see. And they're probably going to swing this 5 into one of the bodies on the field. Oh, they decide not to. Okay, that's fair. Let's go ahead and play the Absalom. Let's KO the Absalom so we can see what we get. I think let's see what we can get off this 1 cost event. See if we can set up another turn after this. 6 cost Moria is solid. Actually, we can play it this turn. So not too bad, not too shabby. 6 into 5. Once again, this might be slow beam. I always have to consider it. They do take that hit. We'll go another 6 into 5 here. They probably give us a 2K at this point. And then what we can do is... Give us a 2K. I was going to say 6 cost into Perona to freeze one of these Rosies is not bad. And we'll swing 7 into lead. I don't think I need to pitch my hand quite yet. They have 1, 2, 3, 4. Maybe. There's a world where they could actually lethal us out, but I think we just hold on to the counter in hand. I think it's probably a little bit better. They redirect into the 10 costs, as expected. And there's a world where we could end up losing this if they swing... Like, if they swing 8... Yeah, if they swing 8, like start off with an 8, we actually could potentially lose this game. Baby 5, prolonging the game just a little bit longer, meaning that they have 1 more life ready to go. Unlucky. It is what it is, though. 8 into 5 here. We'll just use it to freeze nothing. Pretty solid, yeah. If they use that 8 to go into face, though, little do they know that I would probably actually just fold. But Doffy is more of a board control deck, so that makes sense. We'll do the hog back, and I guess we can bring out the... I mean, it doesn't really matter. Absalom's probably our better option in this scenario. And then if they go into the Absalom, which I think they're just trying to clear the board, then what we can do is just take it, get the 8 cost, and then hope to get a nice trigger here if that's the case. They decide not to swing because I don't think they want to give us a trigger. Yeah, pretty solid option from them. Let's go ahead and play out the Perona. We'll deploy it. We'll freeze the Rosie. We'll freeze the other Rosie. And then here we can just swing 8 into lead. They'll probably redirect this one into the baby 5 because this is going to be the best attack that I have. Yep. As expected. So they are going to go down to, or go back up to 1 life. This is a real grindy game. Real grindy here. We'll go 6 into 5. Easy to be able to counter out with if they have a 2K. Once again, we're kind of reading their hand, seeing what they have. And preventing... Oh, wow, they take that one. Okay. I think I just go in. I think I just go hard here. 6 or 8 into 5 and see if they have enough counter. I could have left one open for Brickbat, but I think I want to really pressure them here and have them give us 2Ks. I kind of sense a little bit of weakness overall because of the fact that they instantly snapped, used the 8, or redirected, and they had 8 exactly. Okay, so good call on my part. The 7 also would have been solid to get them down low enough, but I don't know if I could have lasted too many turns. They might have just turned the game around. The triggers we had were pretty solid, though. We could actually probably survived off of these triggers. Blue-Purple Sanji has a little bit of a buff from this new set because of the fact it is able to bring out the Sanjis from trash with the new 3-cost event. So I'm interested to see how this plays out. I like this hand. They choose to go first. Going second yet again, really nice. And having a Sindri on our opening turn is pretty solid. Getting some nice little, triggers to potentially bring out a body would be good. We are able to at least bring out 2 hogbacks if we need to. The 3-cost Sanji coming down immediately, and we are able to at least bring a body out. So good to see here. We're going to bring out this hogback just to have it on the field. And then what we'll do is we can swing 5 with it. We're just going to poke the Sanji down and hope to find a Perona in the process. Perona is going to be really good to be able to freeze the Sanjis. We're unable to remove them, so at least stopping them from attacking is pretty good. They are countering out very aggressively. They want to stay pretty healthy, and I don't blame them. Sanji, in the early stages of the game, should just spend its counter to be able to protect itself, and in the late stages of the game, can use the counter events to stay really healthy from the big swings that are coming its way. Here they go, 5 in a face. Do we risk a counter? I feel like we have enough counters. We probably should. Let's go ahead and use it. Lucky. We'll go ahead and then get the 2K back in hand with this hogback. So we actually ended up getting the 2K in hand and also getting a body on the field. So pretty nice there. And if they decide to swing into any of the bodies here, we totally can. Okay, Buff Burst to draw. I don't see them using Buff Burst to bounce cards back. I know you can, but I never see it happen. Anyway, 5 in the lead. They're just going to ignore the board. I respect it. Going into the board sometimes against Moria just feels like a waste. Here, let's go ahead and pop the Sindri, and we're just going to pressure this Sanji. We're going to ask for cards out of hand. They have 5 in hand, so they're going to have to dump their entire hand. They just let it go. They probably have a 3-cost event ready to go to bring it back out, and that's probably what they wanted to do anyway. We'll go 6, 6, 6, and then 7. And we do have a Perona, so there's a world where we could actually pitch some of these cards to heal and then bring back out with the 6-cost Moria, bring the Perona out. I think that's pretty nice. Because we don't really have a great target. We have the Hogback, which it's fine. It's okay. I think we go ahead and just swing first so we can use the ability to pitch Absalom, Moria, and then Perona, and then we'll bring the Perona back out. So they are using a Gum Gum Giant this early. Wow. Yeah, they're dumping a lot of cards from hand. We're in a pretty good spot. I think this matchup is super favorable for Moria, and we're able to show why. So they can't attack with a Sanji. They have been dumping their hand. They actually went down pretty far in Dawn. They're only at 5 this turn. And we have the Boa Hancock ready to go for later turns in a very, very wide board that they're unable to do much with or against. If they have a Gravity Blade, I mean, it's going to be another turn until they can actually play it. One of the downsides to playing Giant this early is you can't Gravity Blade on curve. So they're just searching and drawing, replenishing their hand. You know, just blue, purple Sanji things. That's what this deck does. It cycles through, it finds the cards it needs, it fills up the trash, plays a lot of events, and then kind of overwhelms the opponent with solid removal and these bodies that just can't exit the board ever. So that's why stopping them from attacking is really powerful. So 7 into one of these bodies. The one that doesn't have an on KO is probably smart there. Ooh, okay. So, I mean, Rayleigh's not going to do too much. It actually does hurt them a little bit with their Dawn, but I think what we do here is we just swing 5 off the bat. We'll go ahead and then KO this, freezing the Sanji, and we just swing really big here at this point. I think we just hold on to the Rayleigh. There's not really a point in KOing the Sanji. I think we just pressure their hand. We'll go 7, and then we could go really big. Like, we could go 9, and then maybe, like, the rest on the Dawn here, like 11. Put him to 0, possibly. Yeah. And I don't know how they actually get out of this game. They have to block her up. That's, like, the only thing. And unfortunately, the Boa Hancock is a little bit dead at this point because of the fact they're at 0, and they have really no way of healing. So, yeah, this is a really, really unfavored matchup for them. I don't think they can handle all of the bodies that come out. Bottom decking them is pretty solid because of the fact I can't bring them back out of trash. That is one of the saving graces for this. But yeah, they just didn't have enough. They had a couple of red rocks. They had like a couple of ways to survive outside of this. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be enough for them to prolong the game or at least close it out at this point. All right, going against Ace, I'm going to take second away from Ace. And this is actually a solid hand because we have a couple of searchers to start off with. With both of these events, we can just play these back to back, fill up the trash, and then also have a play for our 4-Dawn turn, although we do have the Hogback all ready to go. It's also nice to have other options. If we can fill up the trash with a Perona or an Absalom, that'd be really nice. I'd rather not have those in hand. Of course you can, but I'd rather have them in the trash. Here, I think we just grab the Hogback, putting the Perona in the trash, and then I guess we'll just we could grab a 2K counter here, because we already grabbed the Hogback. Unfortunately, we cannot grab the 9-cost Boa Hancock. That's going to be really useful in this matchup because it rips life from the Ace, which sometimes it's hard to break through. With this matchup, we kind of have to fill the board up as much as possible. The 6-cost Moria is going to be very helpful for that, but we've yet to see it, so let's hopefully find it within the next turn or two so we have our 6-Dawn turn play. What's really nice about this matchup is, of course, you can use your leader ability to pump up your entire board and usually can just swing and poke them down for 6 a bunch of times. They don't have a searcher to start off with, which is really good for us. Rayleigh here, not really, getting a trigger off anyway. There's nothing on the board. So we'll go ahead and then just, I guess we could KO the Hogback just to get a swing in and then also play a body out. I think that's fine. It's like questionable. We could have passed the turn, but I think also, we can just go ahead and swing in, heal up, put some cards into the trash, and then play kind of like a little bit of a grindy game, hope to find the 6-cost within this next life, or draw. Now, is this the best play for this turn? I don't know. It's questionable. I think getting a card out of hand, especially a red rock, is pretty nice, as opposed to just not doing anything at all. And we also filled up our trash in the process, so I think it's fine. This next turn, we can play the Rayleigh if they decide to play something down like a Yamato, or we can even KO a Marco if we want to, but I think I might not necessarily want to do that off the bat. So let's see what we get off of our life and draw. I think that's probably the most important thing to see next. It looks like they have nothing again. That is very interesting. Maybe they're just playing for late. We do get a nice little trigger here, so we could just play out this Hogback. And then I guess, drawing into a 9 cost is pretty solid. I guess we don't really have too many options of what we can do. I guess we could just swing 6 outright and then just poke them down as much as possible. See if they can take some life here. We could fill up the trash with the Sindri. They just use their leader ability, which is very interesting to see. What did we get out of this? Okay, so we actually have some pretty good stuff here. Let's go ahead and then swing 6 with this Hogback. And I'm very inclined to just pop the Hogback and then put out an Absalom. We could also pop the Sindri, but I don't really think it makes too much sense here. There's also the chance that they have Gravity Blade and could just answer things on curve. They are countering out pretty heavily. Interesting to see. Let's go ahead and play the Absalom here, and then we'll just swing 9. We choose not to heal because that eats our entire hand up. And they do take that one eventually, so that's nice that it finally, took a life. And this turn could be a Jozu, or it could be a Gravity Blade, one of the two. I have noticed aces are running 1 or 2 copies of Gravity Blade in some lists. I do like keeping the Sindri on the field for this next turn so that we don't have to use or pop any of our units. What we can do is then just pop the Sindri and then swing a bunch of times with the units on the field and keep them on the field, which is nice. We also have the Moria that we're going to probably play this next turn more times than not. Down comes the Marco. They must have drawn that either off the life or off of their leader ability plus draw. So I think that this turn is an easy Moria turn where we probably play anything from our trash, of course. If they're going to go 7 at the Perona, that's fine. We'll go ahead and then just cause the Marco to not attack. We have a couple of Morias back to back, which is pretty nice. So let's go ahead and play this Moria out. And I imagine that the Perona is probably fine to... I guess we could go ahead and just pop just to see what we get out of their hand first, so we're not making an immediate decision on the 8 cost, although that it is probably our best play overall. So yeah, 6 into 6. This is just really annoying for Ace. They have to just respect the fact that we are poking them down every turn. We're trying to eat their hand as much as possible, which it's really difficult to do against Ace because of the fact that they just innately draw a lot of cards. The 2 open is a little bit suspicious. I'm not entirely sure what that would be for. Maybe they just wanted to swing, 7... and didn't want to use a 9 and give away too much. They do take that 6, so going down to 1, meaning that our Boa Hancock is going to be really potent this next turn, because we will have the Moria established. They got a Jozu, okay, so they're pitching the Jozu here. They must have not drawn any of these on curve and just have gotten them through the draw off of their leader ability plus life. Here the Hogback is probably fine. I don't mind if they swing with the Marco. To be quite honest, I want them to swing with the Marco, because of the fact that if they swing with Marco, it means it's a little bit easier to pressure them with all the units on the field, especially when we have the Hancock come down. And what we can do is play the Hancock, heal, and then rip their life, swing with one of the units, whether it's like a Hogback or the Absalom, probably the Hogback. They're playing out an Ezo to find a search. They're probably, I was going to say, finding an 8 cost event, and then they probably have a Newgate in hand as well. But here, we'll swing in this next turn with 6 with Hogback, putting a Dawn underneath the Hogback, popping the Hogback, playing out a card, probably the Perona to freeze a unit, likely the Marco if that's the case, and then swing 6 with the Absalom, 6 with Leader, and then 11 with the Moria. Here is the 8 cost event into 10 cost Newgate. That is unfortunate, but understandable. It's probably why they didn't play anything for the first 2 turns of the game for them. Well, obviously they couldn't on their 3-down turn. Most aces don't have too much. They rip their last life, which makes this makes this Hancock rather invalid if that's the case. You could use it to heal, but it feels kind of like a wasted effort if that's the point of doing that. So I think the 8 cost Moria is probably a little bit better, and we could just use the 9 cost Hancock as KO or pitch fodder to heal back up. I don't think they're going to really swing with the Marco. I don't imagine they will this turn. I think that being at 0 now is a little bit scary for them, even though they do have their leader buffed up through the 8 cost event. Yeah, them putting the Dawn underneath the Ezo is signifying that they are opting to not swing with the Marco. They might want to just swing into face, but then again, we could have a trigger come out. That could be problematic for them. They do swing with the Marco. Okay, respect to them. We can just go ahead and pop the Marco. I hate to do this because it does draw them a card, or draw them a lot of cards rather, because of the fact that there's Dawn underneath their leader, so I think they actually draw 3 off of this, 2 with the Marco, and then one with the leader ability. Unfortunate, but hey, I would rather get this out of the way. Although you could argue that we could use the next turn to poke the Marco down and get some cards out of hand, but then again, they might just let it die and then draw in the process. So one less thing to worry about. We will take this 10 and then kind of have to do a couple things here. One, we could play the 8 cost, put a body on the field. We could use the 8 cost to also heal and then swing in with our leader. I think that's probably our best bet. I think pitching the 6 cost, the 9 cost Boa, and then possibly the Rayleigh are going to be our best targets to do that with. And then I don't really think that we need to swing with the Moria here because I want to keep it upright. It's going to be a target the next turn for an attack, if anything. So we're just going to pitch these cards to heal up, and then we can play out the 8 cost Moria. They go ahead and use the Ezo. That's fine. Not a big deal here. That's actually better for us, I think. Just to get it out of the way. It's one less body to potentially swing with. You never know. They might swing with it, but more times than not, they'll just use the effect. And because they popped the Ezo, I think I'm just actually going to play out the Hogback on the field and put a 2k in hand. Because if they had left the Ezo up, I probably would have healed, just because now they can't really get through, unless of course they're running a a rush character. We were grabbing the Brickbat event. That's why I said event. But if they play a rush character here, that could be problematic. Like maybe they have the 6 cost Ace. I know some lists are starting to opt into running that. But I think we should be fine regardless based off of our hand. Being able to go +3, plus also 2Ks is really nice. And then this next turn, if they can't use the 8 cost event to pump up their leader, they might have the 9 cost Newgate to pump up their leader, which makes it harder for us to swing through. But if that is the case, then we can also prolong the game a little bit further as well. Playing Uta sucks for us because it means that there's probably going to be more blockers coming down as well. And they're probably just going to block her up. We don't really have a way to get past these blockers at the moment, or in general. We don't have an unblockable event for Moria. So it is what it is. We're just going to have to power through this. And it's fine. It should be not an issue if that's the case. Here they're grabbing out the 10 cost Newgate. There are multiple 10 cost Newgates. The one that taxes you when it comes down. Every swing that you swing with, if they are at 2 or less life, means that you have to discard 2 cards along the way, and we're already at a low hand size, so it makes it really difficult to try to push through if they do play this down next turn, and we can't really close out the game this turn. With 11, is it 11? Maybe, let's see here, 10. Okay, so with DeMarco coming down, 10 cards in hand. More, obviously, when it KOs. It's going to be hard to break through this line of defense, but we will hold strong and do our best, of course. Now, if they swing with the 10 cost Newgate, that's really scary. And honestly, I really hope that they don't swing with it because of the fact that like I can't get out of it. It means we have to really pressure for this turn. Hancock's not really going to do us much good here. It is definitely fodder to be able to use our ability, but I think let's go ahead and then swing the Absalom with a 6. And then here we're just going to poke him down as much as possible. I think it's going to be fine to pop the Absalom, see if we can grab something, and even possibly heal up if that's the case. One more time, just because they have gone a little bit too wide for us. We don't really have any triggers that break the game. They're going to use the Ezo immediately. I think this is a small play mistake. They should have just used the Ezo for the 1k counter instead of using their leader ability. The leader ability is definitely one that is too strong to really pass up for just a single 6k attack. They should have used it with a brick in hand instead. So that might have been a misclick, but we'll call it a misplay for now. And then with 1 in life, we're really scared here. We want to make sure that this Marco goes down if we can. So let's see if we can get it to block. So let's swing with 12 just outright. This is going to be a very difficult decision for them. It's either block with an Uta, block with the Marco. Okay, if they instantly just block with the Uta, good for us. We'll swing another 12 here. This is not easy for them to counter out of, especially since they've already used their leader ability. So we kind of have to force them to make blocks that are really uncomfortable by swinging really big first. And then after they make those decisions, then we can swing with the smaller units and grind the cards out of their hand. Because we can grind the cards out of their hand immediately, and then eventually they can block, just like with a Newgate with a 1k counter. We don't want that really to be the case, and they do block with the Marco, so that being off the field. For me, I'm more comfortable at this point pitching cards out of hand to heal back up 1. So I think what we can do is, well, we could also play out the Hogback. I'm considering playing the Hogback, but I think it might just be better to use our leader ability here. Pitch a Hogback, pitch a Hancock, and unfortunately a 2k, but we are We're pretty well protected based off of our hand size or what we have. They do block with that one, that's fine. Here, I think we just go 8-8. This will be a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and a 1, so we're getting 4 cards out of hand, or potentially 3 if they do have a Rad Beam. They have one open, so there's always the possibility there. But I think this is probably our best course of action, just to kind of grind them down one more turn. I don't know if we can close out the game next turn. It's going to be difficult depending on what they throw down again, but I also, depending on what they throw down, I'm kind of confident we can survive and then just go again if we need to. They do have the 10 cost Tax Beard, so if they play that down this next turn, it's going to be hard because we don't have that many cards in hand. So maybe if they swing at our face, we should just take some of the hits to have more cards in general. If we can, maybe get 1, 2, 3 attacks off. I don't think we'll be able to get all 4 of our characters attacking this next turn, but we'll see. 8 cost event into probably the 10 cost Tax Beard that we saw. I think that's probably a solid option for them, considering I have 3 cards in hand anyway. And then they can swing with their leader and then leave the Newgate blocker upright. So yeah, I think, yeah, Tax Beard as expected. This makes it really difficult for us to close out the game. I think we should probably take 1 hit, or maybe, I mean, it doesn't really matter too much. We do want to have 4 cards in hand at least, so that we can swing with both of the 8 cost Morias. We kind of just have to close the game out this turn, because I don't really foresee us closing the game out or surviving one more turn based off of their board state and our hand size and the fact that we have 2 life left. Not looking too hot, so yeah. Oh, to my surprise, they are attacking with the Newgate. Interestingly enough, they're probably going to push us down to 0, and then 6 with their leader likely, and then play an Uta with the remaining 2 open, or with that they have. That's interesting. We'll have to see what their hand is. Maybe they don't have enough counter and they're just kind of like trying to pressure us this turn, but they are giving us fuel. If they do attack with this, with their leader, I'm going to 100% take it. Oh, swinging 8. Okay, interestingly enough. That might have been a small play mistake. We'll see in a second. Don't want to call anything too early. We'll just grab a card here, and then we can draw for turn. We have 6 cards in hand, meaning that we can attack with 3 units, which is really nice here. And so what we'll do is we'll swing 6 with one of the units, pop it, and then we can swing 6 with our leader, and then I guess 12 with a Moria, and then the rest on the other Moria. Let's go ahead and then pitch the 2 Sindris to be able to attack with this Hogback. One of the things about this Newgate is the Tax Beard is you can still just lose. I will just pitch cards from hand if I need to. We'll go ahead and pop this. It doesn't really matter too much. I guess the Perona just to prevent a Garp from attacking. Not that we're going to survive. We don't really need to pitch anything because of the fact that we're not going to play for one more turn. We're going to go all out here. 6 into lead, and we do need these cards to be able to pay for the tax. We'll go 12 into lead, and then we'll pitch 2 more 2Ks. They already used their leader ability, so they went the Marco to pitch out of a 6K swing. So yeah, maybe not the most efficient use of their leader ability at times. Something to consider. Those plays like that are sometimes what decide a game at the end, where you used your leader ability in different ways. Oh wow, they were bricked up. So they actually kind of had to push, but I don't know if swinging with the Newgate was really the right choice there. Yeah, regardless, I think even if they left their Newgate up, they didn't have enough counter to get through all of the attacks that we could have split up the Dawn with. So we definitely had game no matter what. All right, going into Yellow Luffy, this is a matchup that's actually a little bit difficult for us because of the fact that they have a lot of trash effects. This is a pretty solid hand, opening up with the 1 cost event into an Absalom, into eventually, well, I guess a Perona is a pretty solid option. Let's go ahead and swing 5 here. We are able to fill up our trash in the meantime with that 1 cost event, really nice. They do have Flaming Dragon King, which means they are stacking their life here. I would imagine they're probably going to swing into us for 5 this next turn, play out a Sanji, and they're probably putting a Kikunojo at the top of their life. That's usually what ends up happening with Yellow Luffy, is they like to put bodies at the top, so you do get punished for swinging into them. There is the option, if we do take this life, we might hold back and not swing, but I think that with 6 life, we kind of have to push forward regardless. Here's the Sanji I mentioned, grabbing a 5 cost Nami. Unlucky, it is what it is. Let's go ahead and pitch out the Perona just so we can fill up the trash with the Perona. We'll swing 5 into lead here. They'll probably counter out of this one. If they counter out of this one, I feel like it's a Kikunojo. There's the Nami coming down, and then we'll swing 7 into 5. We're not going to pitch anything, and then we'll play out the Absalom just to have 2 Absaloms on the field. No trigger, meaning that probably was a Kikunojo, and this turn they'll probably go like 5 into 7. There's the Kikunojo as I expected. 6/6 is just as well, you know. I'll give them no counter. I'm going to keep the, at least Perona. We'll get the trigger off of the Moria. playing out the Perona, and then I think we'll take another hit here, and we do get another trigger. This is so nice. Unfortunately, though, the Brickbat doesn't really do much because of the fact that we don't have anything else to play, so it's fine. We can at least keep the Brickbat in hand. We could swing 5 into the Sanji. We'll just poke him down a little bit here. I think we go really wide with the 6-cost Moria. Yellow Luffy is susceptible to aggro damage, of course, and I think that's fine for us to do. We'll just go really, really wide. We'll swing the Perona into the Sanji, let it go. I was thinking about the Rayleigh here. We'll go ahead and pop the Perona just to keep the Kikunojo from attacking, and if they do have a trigger come out of life, we can at least play the Perona. I want to see if we can get something out of life first, so I want to swing first so that maybe they take this hit, and then we can play the 6-cost Moria, and then play out the Perona if a body does come out. They do counter out with a 0-cost event, so that's really nice for us. We'll go ahead and play the Perona and then pass the turn from there. Now, is that the best use of our Dawn? No, but I think it's the right sequential order of things because of the fact that we wanted to be able to get the max amount of value off of the Perona, so that's fine. Next turn, or this turn rather, I would imagine they're probably going to, double Kikunojo possibly. Oh no, it's a Kikunojo into it, swinging into the Perona. Sure, we'll freeze one of them. That's fine. What we're going to be able to do is play out the Moria, bring the Perona back out, freeze a Kikunojo, and then pop the Perona, freezing the other Kikunojo. We're getting so much tempo here is really nice. We'll swing 6 into lead. We could go 7 into lead. We could actually just keep pushing really hard here. Really nice to see. Pitching a Nico Robin for the Sanji effect. So they at least have one swing here. We'll go 7. I think another 7's probably pretty solid. We're not going to use our ability to heal up. They do take this one, and I imagine... Oh, wow. Okay, so Bonnie was a trigger there to stop that last hit from happening. Pretty solid trigger overall. And, of course, them being on 10 here means they might have a rush Bonnie of their own, especially if they use that as a trigger. Usually, Bonnie is only good, for my opinion at least, for having one copy in hand, and then the rest that might be in trash are pretty solid. I usually don't have the opportunity to really effectively play 2 of these rush Bonnies because of the fact that usually when it comes down, it heals, or not heals, it rips a life, and then also takes the last life by swinging. So yeah, that might be the case for here. If it is, we need to just protect ourselves from any kind of attacks that they have on the board already. Going 9-9. Okay, so they're going to go into the 6-cost Moria. That is something we can protect, and I think we probably should protect, to be honest. So let's go ahead and Brickbat, and then if they swing another 9 into it, I think we give them a 1k and a 2k. And I think our best play here is the 9-cost Boa Hancock. We'll go ahead and heal, and then they take their last life. So we bypass that trigger, whatever it was set up to be. It was another Nico Robin blocker. Did they have enough? They probably would have gotten out of that one with a Nami or Robin. Pop the Absalom, swing 6, 6, 8, 8, and it wouldn't have been enough based off of what they have in hand. So, wow, we really put some pressure on there. All right, side selection. I have been very lucky with what I've been able to do. I don't know if I like this hand. It's not bad. It has a curve. We are a little bit bricked up as usual. I guess that's kind of the whole thing with Moria. He's always bricked up. But, yeah, we've been able to go second, I think, almost every game today that I've queued up for. So, really happy about that. Able to play around curve is nice. A lot of decks kind of want to go first, but I think Moria, because of the curve, is a pretty solid going second deck. I think we take this one. Although, you could argue I probably should have pitched a Hogback right there just in case there was a trigger. But the Rayleigh, at least, wasn't going to trigger regardless. So I think it's fine. They might want to pitch cards from hand and swing with the Chew and pressure. And if that's the case, I'm going to counter out with this one. But I don't really, as Jinbe, don't like to swing with my units too early. We'll go ahead and give him the Rayleigh, and then I think we just swing the Moria into the Chew. We don't use the ability quite yet. I think we will counter out of another hit this next turn if we can. We'll just play out this Hogback and pass. And then this turn, they could play out a Law if they really want to. They could go like a 1-cost character, play out the Bounce Law, bounce the Hogback back to hand. They don't have it. If they want to bounce the Watatsumi, they can. And I might be in pudding range, to be quite honest. Okay, so Aladdin into another Watatsumi. That's actually a pretty solid play from them. And they're going to pitch an 8-cost Jinbe to swing 7 into lead. I think I give them cards here. I think I have to pitch some cards so I don't go down to 1. And then we're just going to swing the Hogback into the Watatsumi. Here, we're going to go ahead and play out the... What do we have in trash, actually? I think we swing first and we pitch some cards. I think we pitch the Perona. Ooh, this is tough. A Rayleigh and a Moria. So we're actually losing every counter in our hand, but it's okay because what we're going to do is we're going to play the Perona. We're going to freeze the Aladdin, and the Watatsumi can attack. That's fine. Not the biggest deal here. We want to be able to at least answer their board a little bit too, so I think that's good. Fisher Tiger coming down, drawing a bunch of cards in the process for them. And they can use that to pitch. Oh, Arlong is pretty solid here. They might want to pitch one card to be able to swing with the Watatsumi, but I'm going to be honest, if I was playing the Jinbe in this position, I don't think I'd swing quite yet. I think I'd keep my hand at 5 and then wait for the next turn to really go all in. But that's fine. They go 5 in the lead. We will take that. We get a trigger. It's pretty nice. Actually, this Perona is pretty handy here because they are at exactly 5 cards in hand, but I think it's better just to stay healthy, pitch 2 cards at the bottom, and then just put the Perona in hand overall. So we had a couple of decent options there, and then we can go really wide this next turn. We're going to take that and then bring out a Hogback. So with our triggers, we have a very, very wide board yet again. Let's try to answer this board as best as we can. So let's go Perona into the Watatsumi. If they let this go, awesome. Looks like they're wanting to protect it, which is fine. We're going to prevent the Fisher Tiger from attacking. We'll swing 6 into 5, ask for a 2K. And then we will swing. I have to really keep in mind here that we are in trouble of potentially being 8-cost Jinbe. They did pitch one earlier, which usually if you're pitching it, you have one to play again. So we're just going to swing 6s. They're probably going to take these cards just to be able to fuel up the characters on the board. That's totally fine here. Do I want to use my ability? I don't know if I want to use it quite yet. I think we're going to... actually, I think we have to just to go up to 2 life, and then we're going to go down to 0 cards in hand and force them to either close out the game or go for the board. And I think what we do is we're going to play the Perona. Playing the Perona, there's probably not the best option, to be quite honest. I think playing anything else would have been better because then the Perona is not going to be able to be brought out. So, yeah, this is probably not the best play. I think putting the Absalom would have been better so that we could bring the Perona out and then freeze one of these other units. I'm just going to go 5 into lead here. Yeah, please go 5 into lead. I play the Jinbe first. Actually, you know what? Play the Jinbe first so that I can play a character with this Perona. That'd be really nice. Actually, they can't even bounce anything with the Jinbe. They're on 9, so yeah. I forget about that. Just swing the Aladdin. There's nothing to think about. Just swing it. There is the Jinbe. Yep. As expected. That's fine. They might try to close out the game here. I think that's probably what they're going to look to do. 5 into... Okay, so they're trying to clear the board. Interesting decision. I actually don't think that's too bad. I think that's a pretty solid option. They don't need to pitch cards. They could just swing 5... Oh, I see. They're trying to get rid of, like, Moria and maybe, like, pressure face, I guess. They really don't want to swing into the Hogbacks. That's the one thing. You don't want to swing into the Hogbacks, so use the Perona effect. I think what we do is we just play out... Absalom, I think, is fine. I was considering the Hogback to get a 2K back in hand, but that's all right. And then they're just going to go 10 into lead, and then we are unable to use that Hancock, but we can use it for this next turn and potentially just close out the game here. Putting them down to 1, swinging 5 with a Absalom first just to see what we can get. And, oh, they decided to just go ahead and surrender. They didn't have enough to be able to get out of everything. We got a little bit lucky there. They could have tried to pressure for face, but I don't think they would have been able to close out the game regardless. But dang, that was a really close one. I have to say, I really find this very grindy, and I love in a sense how it is annoying for the opponent to have to deal with. With all that being said, I'm not entirely sure it fits my playstyle. I'm not really a fan of having a low hand size and then also running a lot of bricks. So that's something that I've noticed with the deck is that you can really just brick up at times. It's very appropriate that there's a card in the deck called Brick Bat because it's a reminder of just how bricked you are a lot of the time. But I do appreciate what this deck is doing overall. As for some changes to the deck, honestly, I wouldn't change too much outside of what we have, minus some of the ratios overall. You might want to include more Peronas, as I said, the 4-cost Perona. Outside of this, there are a few other cards to include, possibly like the 3-cost Ryuma could be good. Inupe, if you're wanting to fill up the trash a little bit more and also cycle your hand, that's also some options, although Ryuma is a little bit better there because you can also attack with it. But overall, I think that the deck list is pretty solid. Let me know in the comments below what you guys think about Black Yellow Moria. Are there any spicy picks that I didn't include in my deck list? Also, let me know while you're at it. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.